All right, so this is page 47 of the book, Asian Slaves in Colonial Mexico. All right, it says right here, it says, in the Philippines, both systems allow for slavery because native elites were responsible for delivering laborers to the Spaniards, as such as Spanish colonists may not individually own slaves after 1610, but they continue to benefit from slave labor because the native chiefs used slaves in food production for their own sustenance to pay as tribute. All right. Native chiefs, moreover, were known to use slaves for labor draft. All right. Okay. So, these were likely, Jeff Fast, right, from Malaysia, right? But like I said, you also had Jace from Malaysia, right? You have to remember that the brother said they've been staying with them, man. All right, it said the lawful enslavement of indigenous group Negritos, referred as Zambala, exemplified a leeway to given native chiefs regarding slavery. The colonial government gave permission to the indigenous elites of the larger ethnic groups to carry out their own slave raidings. The Capapangas, the Pampangos in Spanish, for example, who live in the further province of Pampanga, had license to enslave Negritos. According to Capapangas chiefs, the Negritos were naked marauders and scalp hunters who swept down the foothills swift as a deer and attacked their people when they were in field. A bunch of liars, a lie. All right, as a way to remedy the situation, protect the food supply, the Capapangas were allowed to go to war against the natural enemies. Right, they are natural enemies because they're these heathens, man. These not Israelites. All right, the Negritos are Israelites, man. It's enslave them and then put them to work in rice cultivation. The slavery of the Negritos, moreover, raises important questions about the conceptualization of slavery in the Philippines and how it changed over time. The word Negro in Spanish for black, so the name given to the enemies of the Campapangans referred to their dark skin color. The name also alludes to Spanish characterization of Negritos, which the way they were barbarians because they live as hunters and gatherers rather than settled towns, right? Because they didn't want to live that plantation Christianity life. It said, which was the Iberian mark of civilization. Right in 1604, Alonso de Soldavo gave the following description. Widely read missionary tricks, they are not dark as those from Guyana, nor ugly, but small and skinny and with curly hair and beards like Guineas, but they do not have the towns and houses except for the hills among the nation of Philippines. They are the most, right here, 48, the most barbarous and uncivilized. All right, based on Negrito physical appearance, Spanish associated with the people from sub-Saharan Africa, whom they seem perceived to be socially inferior. All right, talking about Jake from sub-Saharan Africa, man. The word sub-Saharan, you think of what? Subhuman. All right, it says Negritos never incorporated to Hispanic society as indigenous vassals as they were neighboring agricultures because the Spaniards saw them as savages. All right, that's because they're Edomites, man. All right, Spanish are Edomites. Civilized Indians therefore had to lead to enslave Negritos because they were barbarians in the Aristotelian sense of being lesser men, therefore natural slaves. All right, same thing Esau say about the so-called Negroes from West Africa. It says Spaniards made this characterization of the Negritos from the first years after conquest in a 1570 letter to the Viceroy of New Spain. That's Mexico. Governor Miguel Lopez de Negritos explained that the native chiefs had black slaves who were war captives, nothing that used to be less expensive than the Indian slaves, meaning the slaves from the complex society of losing. It's according to Liga, the native chiefs had recently raised price because they realized the Spaniards had an affinity for them and would pay more money for blacks than the Indians. The Indian elites thus recognized the Spanish associated black skin with slavery and moved profit from it. Lacapisi, moreover, added that he had given license to individual Spaniards to take a great number of Negritos to Mexico's as slaves. Deuteronomy 28:68. Deuteronomy 28:64. Okay. Wherefore they could live with Christians. The implication was Negritos would have a better life in slavery because they were taken out their barbarity and brought into the Christian fold. All right. So it's another reason Esau enslaved them because they won't accept that plantation creed. It says right here, for the Spaniards, groups like Negritos, the Chicamacas, all right, there's a group in Mexico were not true Indians, but enemies who carry out guerrilla warfare on colonists and missionary. What they say about the brothers today, man. All right. It says right here, natives elites also own foreign slaves whom purchased from Portuguese as the Spaniards did. Okay. Let's see. All right. So the pages get. Okay, so we get pages. All right. It says right here, it says, yeah, we're gonna start right here. It says in 1626, for example, the commission noted the arrival of 3 galleys owned by Portuguese traders of one of the ships had stopped in Bengal, Malacca before arriving in Manila with a shipment of rice, oil, textiles, and 200 slaves. The human cargo is almost always recorded as 200 slaves, so the figure journey approximated. In addition, merchants from Borneo, Thailand shipped slaves to Manila as well, but in fewer numbers. All right, so there you go, man. All right, it says Spanish officials turned a blind eye to Portuguese dealings because the colony continued to depend on slave labor, which increased required eternal supply, especially after the crown truly abolished indigenous slavery in the Philippines at the end of the 17th century. But just like in America, they'll say they abolish it, but they'll do like sneaky things, put them in service, or make them pay, just like here, like make you pay debts and all that stuff, man. All right, now this is getting good right here. It says, when the Spaniards first arrived, they were astounded to find that Muslims, Spain's traditional enemies, right, the Moors are Israelites, inhabited large parts of the Philippines archipelago. All right, so you had the Israelites in Spain, the Moors, you got the Moros now, over here the Philippines. All right, it says the Spaniards' deep-seated animosity towards the Moros were harbored during century-long reconquista of the Iberian Peninsula. Right, man. All right, because the brothers that was over there in Spain pissed them off, man, because the Moors were ruling over them. They was getting a hard time. All right, it said at the time of the contact, Spaniards had only recently taken over their emirates of Granada in 1492, the last Muslim stronghold. Spanish colleagues even paused that they were direct descendants of Muslims who had been banished from Spain. All right, so why they thought these are the same people? These two families. All right, they like, damn, man, these people, we just kicked these little. Basically, just said, man, we just kicked these little niggas out of Spain to Portugal. Man, they over here in the Philippines. All right, because what do the word moral means, man? All right, what do the word moral means? Okay, where is that? Moral means what? The etymology of moral. All right. It said moral, Muslim Malay of the Philippines, 1886. Was trying moral, literally more. Literally more, man. All right, and what do the morals look like? All right, go to pin interest. Cause now you type moral, they'll show. Cause someone got light skinned from mixing with the other nations. All right, but some, the one with the picture, it was dark. All right, you gonna see this on pin interest. Now watch this. See this brother right here. See how dark he is, man. All right, these were the brothers, whatever, man. But these were the brothers that came to the Philippines, man. These were the brothers that the Spaniards seen, man. Okay. Moro, go another picture right there. Moro at the bottom. All right. Okay. Moro. Okay, these were the brothers that the Spaniards sing, man. All right. Philippines. You go back to because racist cartoons. All right. So hey, you can't judge by skin color, man. You gotta ask them who their father is. Just the same thing like in America, man. Who your father is. All right. Can't go by skin color. Some of them still dark skinned, man. All right. All right, our people they scatter all over the earth, man. All right. You can see right here in the classroom this old racist cartoon. All right. You see right here the Philippines right there, dark skinned individual. Okay. You see in the same cartoon Gad. All right, up in the corner reading a book or something. He up in there. All right. You can see all these racist cartoons of the Philippines and stuff. Let me see if I could get try and find the other pictures. All right. You can see right here, man. All right. So you see Gad standing across the river. Right. Same thing. Same cartoon made the so-called Negro bad words. They did the same thing in the Filipinos in the Philippines. Right. Make it seem like they savages and everything. All right, what do you call them? A bad Filipino. All right. Okay, so let's go back to all right, let's cut that off. All right, let me show you. It says right here, all right, it says at the time of contact, Spaniards had only recent takeover the Emirate of Granada, 1492, the last Muslim stronghold. Spanish colonies even points that they were the direct descendants of the Muslims who they've been banished from Spain. All right. It's a reality merchants and missionaries from Borneo and Maluku Islands introduced Islam to the region starting at mid-14th century. 200 years later, most of Medina and the Sulu archipelago were fully part of the Islamic world. Dar al-Salam and Islam had also made significant inroads in the islands of Cebu and Bohol. All right, so I'm going to skip down here. It says the Spanish engaged in direct conflict with Muslims from circa 1565 to 1663, the so-called Moro Wars. They achieved a few victories, so getting settled a kind of stalemate through the 19th century. During the height of fighting the Moro Wars, netted 100 captives who were sold in Manila slave markets. Some of these men, once they fought themselves back to, were taken to Mexico. Deuteronomy 20:68 again, man. From the Spaniards' perspective, the Muslim had a capital immunity against Christians that justified the wars against them back in Spain and now in the Philippines, man. All right, slaving was central to the fight against Islam, just as it had been during the Reconquista. The Spanish colony first enslaved a number of Muslim traders that came to Cebu in the 1560s, claiming they had wanted to spread Islam. The Crown approved their efforts. All right, but anyway. It says Spaniards were also permitted to take part in slave raidings in the Muslim islands, which harbored dangerous rebels who Confederate were known enemies of the crown. It says the Moro Wars netted thousands of slaves for soldiers on the side of Spain as well for Muslim chiefdom. In fact, much of the fighting consisted of skirmishing and coastal raiding by both parties. Slaving motivated Spanish soldiers and their Indian allies who went with them to battle with the express purpose of acquiring slaves. Spanish sources suggest that the soldiers enslaved more than 4,000 Muslims between 1599 and 1604 alone. Most of the captives were sold in Manila slave market, man. All right. So, you know, there's no getting around this, man. All right. Okay, so you won't say, oh, the so-called Mexicans, they aren't Israelites because some of the ancestors came from Spain, but you didn't look up the whole information, man. All right. And the ancestors that came from Spain were actually dark. All right. All right. Dark skinned, dark brown people, tawny people. All right. Which is why down you go to Mexico. All right. The further south you go, the darker they get. All right. In some states in Mexico, they're dark skinned, man. All right. So, okay. So, you know, man, you gotta do your research, man. Just can't get on and say this and say that. All right. In his defense, Corcuria explained that as a governor, he had personally led troops into Mindanao and Jolo to vanquish Muslims. After the battle in 1638, he had taken the responsibility of more than 200 children, all under the 4 years of age, whom the enemy had left behind. The Cura had children baptized and taken to Manila, where he distributed among the upstanding citizens to be raised as Christians. He also kept several of the children in his own household and then brought them to Spain. According to Corcuria, sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong, though individuals included Pedro, who were legal slaves because they had been captured in just war against the Muslims, and the enslavement of the women, children, and the just war fully allowed under Spanish jurisdiction. All right. It said the slaving expedition reached beyond the Philippines archipelago to places such as Mariana Islands, then called Isla Cameras or Islas de los Ladrones. Spanish soldiers claim Muslims made frequent forays there to capture the natives who died in their service. All right, so there you go, man. It says right here, you can see what they had. The soldiers planned to have captives baptized and then send them to Mexico to work in the mines for the greatest service of God, right? Okay, it says right here, they requested license to carry out slave raiding by employing the major justification used to enslave the people in other parts of the world, specifically West Africa. Who's in West Africa? There is Israelites, the Igbo, the Fulani, etc., etc. This request more testified in a slave economy that developed result of struggle between Christians and Muslims. There was a struggle between Israelites and Edomites in the 2/3, man. Those Huguenots, all right, the Morisco Moors and the Sephardic Jews, who were the so-called black people, all right, slave their own people, man, all right. It says for the political control of the remote part of the world, but you know Esau really behind it, man. So, all right, struggle between Esau and Jacob. Okay. All right. Okay, so yeah, man. All right, so there's no getting around it, man. All right. You go to page 1. Prove that you're Israelite. Watch this. All right, and this is what Jake do, man. Jake, watch this. This is page 196. It says like African slaves, meaning Judah, all right, from West Coast Africa, All right, Chinos curse the Christian God to express their desperation as weary of calling out for help. All right, what it said in Deuteronomy 20, it said, no man shall buy you, nobody shall save you, man. All right, it says women particularly were wont to lash out against religious objects as a way of expressing their anger. All right, in 1626, when it's a commission reported that a China slave, I mean somebody from Asia, right? It said named Lucia had been accused of striking a crucifix, and he had called on a black slave from the same household to testify on the matter. This witness, a cook, remember telling the incident one day she found Louisa gathering food remains from the floor and asked, "Are you so hungry that you would eat that filth?" In response, Lucia had said she was so hungry she wanted to eat a Christian like the Moors, who are fat as sausage. Lucia undoubtedly heard about the long-lasting animosity between the Catholics and Muslims, all right, between Jacob and Esau, all right. All right, Jacob is the the Moros, all right. Catholics Esau, all right. It says and used the reference to reflect their own business toward the masters who starved her. The inquisitor who read the report discounted her pleas, judging these outbursts to be of a little substance rather than insults to God. The judge may recognize that a slave provoked her by fear and misery could slide easily to spare and express a religion. All right. All right. So, this ain't the first time, man. It says right here, Andres Alvarez, for example, asked the court to punish his Chino slave, Anton, because he had stood up during the Sunday Mass and renounced God, the Virgin Mary, right? They know such thing Virgin Mary, but scandalized her parishioners. All right. So let's go with Deuteronomy 31 and let me see. Yes, right here. Deuteronomy 31 and 16 says what? It says, when Yahweh said unto Moses, behold, thou shalt sleep with thy fathers. This people rise up and go horn after the gods, they are strangers of the land. Whether they go to be among them, will forsake me and break my covenant which I had made with them. All right, it says, then my anger shall be kindled against them in that day, and I will forsake them. Right? I mean, the Most High ain't gonna mess with us for a while. All right, that's why he ain't come save us during slavery time, which these two individuals in the other day didn't understand. I will hide my face from them, and they shall be devoured. Many evils and troubles shall befall them. So they will say in that day, are not the evils come upon us, because our God is not among us? And it's the same thing happened right here, man. The same thing happened in Mexico or in the Philippines, wherever these slaves were. Same thing happened here in North America among Judah, Benjamin, Levi, Gad, Reuben, others. All right. Same thing, man. Why? Because these people are the Israelites that the Bible speaks of. All right. Let's go to one. Let me see. 137. All right. Okay, so these are where they worked at. All right. Former textile mill, Coyo, Mexico City. A great number of Chino slaves worked at textile mill owned by Mercure Diaz de Posta during the 17th century. President Hona, the presidents of Consejo Nacional para la Cultura Las Artes, photographed by Alexander Hart Brown and Daniel Furman Pfeffer. All right. So you can see right here, man. All right. You can read the rest of it yourself when you get this book. All right. You can see they give them a hard time. All right. They want to let them go, make them pay all types of debts and stuff. All right. They had to be taken to court, man. All right. Let me see what else I want to bring out. There's something else I want to bring out. else I want to bring out? Oh yeah, let's go to page 55. And the women was just like in North America, the so-called Negro women was assaulted. So was the so-called Negrito Chino women from Asia, man. They was sexually assaulted too, man. All right, what you find in this book? All right, so I'm gonna go page 55. Something interesting I'll show you. All right, so it says right here. All right, it says for the Portuguese, the legality of enslaving Japanese people among all other nationalities were the most controversial. Portugal colonists were unconcerned, but outside forces hindered their slaving activities. 1571, King Sebastian of Portugal outlawed the enslaving of Japanese people at the request of Jesuits, who argued that it hindered their missionary project. All right. It says several decades later, the Portuguese in Goa threatened to rebel if said decree was enforced. So Philip III was forced to revolt to prohibition in 1605. The Habsburg government could not withstand the outright opposition, so colonists were allowed to keep their Japanese slaves as long as they had just and lawful titles. All right, so you have to remember, man, that the Japanese, you had Israelites among the Japanese, particularly among the samurai families. All right, and 8% of samurais were ninjas, man. So these, I'm just guessing, these might have been the descendants of those families. All right, basically Jakes that they didn't want, man. You have to remember, Yahweh's control all this, man. All right, Yahweh's all know. He know who's who among the nations, man. And remember this book, Benjamin Franklin says what? He said, all Africa is tawny. Asia's chiefly tawny black. All right. Then you go to page 76. You see some of the now Japanese get their Ammonites. All right. But you remember you had Israelites among them, man. All right. You had Israelites among them. Okay. All right. You see these pictures. All right. What's the old Japanese proverb that one must have a bit of black blood in order to be a samurai? All right. All right. Okay. Yeah, some more people in Japan. Yeah, Israelites in Japan, man. Right? These were Israelites that was being enslaved, man. All right. Among the Ammonites, so-called Japanese. Also, they took the Negritos in the Philippines and enslaved them too, man. All right. It said the Portuguese faced similar problems in Macu in 1613. Again, in 1617, the Cantonese official ordered the Portuguese to stop retaining Japanese slaves, adding "You are Westerners, so what use us are Japanese to you when you can use blacks?" The presence of Japanese even hold on. The presence of Japanese even slaves was a concern because the ongoing conflict between the Japanese and Ming government, primarily under control of the Korean Peninsula. The Cantonese official reasoned that Japanese slaves could be replaced with African, means Israelite slaves from Africa. All right, points to complexity of the Portuguese trading network, which moved people in all directions, operating at the limits of the law of the nations. All right, so these were Israelites, man. All right, it was getting taken from Japan. All right. Okay, so there's so much stuff in this book, man. All right, let's go ahead and all right, you can see it right here. All right, It says in the northern territory of Mexico, colonists continued to carry out slave raids among the native people, generally characterized as Chicamecas. Under the guise that they were fighting just wars against the barbarous Indians, Spanish continued to acquire new Indian captains and settle them at the Marcus Child. You see it right here. In 1651, a 10-year-old Apache Indian was characterized as a Chicameca slave and sold for 80 pesos in Mexico City. All right. See right here, Natali. All right, so these careers legally permitted in 1569 and the Araucans from Chile 1608. All right. All right. So just they was in captivity. You had Natali. All right. You had the Caribs and the island, Ephraim. All right. On Dominican Republic is Simeon, and Cuba is Manessa. All right. So they was enslaving, man. So this is all all right. This all right. This is what's happening, man. And also they was they started bringing Jates from West Africa to the Philippines too, man. You read further in this book. All right. Let me see, page. All right, the end of Chino slavery. So much power I got. All right. It says, at this time, the Spanish crown also acknowledged that the indigenous people from the Spanish Philippines, Indians, were being held in captivity in Mexico. For those officials who tried to liberate them, it was slightly problematic that they were called Chinos rather than Indians, which was in fact true civic identity. So this is Esau that did this mess, man. All right. All right. It said further complicating the matter was the issue. Many Chino slaves were not natives of the Spanish Philippines. They were from other places in Asia, hence not Indians. It would have been difficult for colonial authorities, however, to make distinction between Chinos based on actual place of origin. As such, royal decrees declaring that these individuals were categorically free use both words, Indians and Chino. This inclusive use language meant that all Chinos, even though who originally other places in Asia, were free as well. With the order, all Chinos became Indians as a group that went from being slaves to being freed indigenous vassals. All right, so this is Esau doing this, man. All right, it said it was a monumental historical change. Individuals from all over Asia and their descendants who had lived in captivity in Mexico became free Indians. All right, so this is Esau doing, man. It said as a result, Indian slaves lived alongside slaves from Africa. All right, Jeremiah 15:3. Elsewhere in the regions across the empire. All right. All right. So, you know, man, the people, the so-called Chinos slaves, Negritos slaves in Mexico, man, those are the Israelites, man, that the Bible speaks of. All right. Also, the so-called Mexicans are the Israelites that the Bible speaks of, man. All right, there's no getting around it, man. Okay, there's no getting around it at all. All right. Okay, there's no getting around it, man. All right. All right, so you know, I hope you all been edified, you know, and most I willing, I'll bring you another video soon. All right, Shalom.